the thing is about me, when I've made music, I haven't ever really cared about fashion or, what label I'm going to sign stuff to or any of that stuff. I've
Mm.
just made the music that I love, and I've done it the way that I love, which is kind of a little bit different to everyone else. And so I'm super lucky that Carl Cox kind of clicked with that. It was never my intention to do that. But, that's not to say that Carl wasn't a huge influence for me as well.
Hey, dude.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good in the hood.
How was I saw you had an active weekend. How was it?
Yeah, it's really good actually. Thursday night, I was launching my album at BMC. I actually
Yep.
did a panel in the day about live electronic performance, and then I launched the album at Water Bear, which is like a super cool venue. It's like only like 200 capacity, but it's got a sick Function One sound system, which is
No,
unreal.
no way.
Yeah. So it's a perfect place to launch the album, and it's great, mate. Loads of industry heads, loads of people just like raving it up on a Thursday night, and then
That's
I was
cool.
playing in like this Eat, Beat and Culture festival in Luxembourg, and
Yep.
like it was like this old metalworks factory. It's like a proper massive warehouse, like all broken down and stuff, and it was like basically like a warehouse rave.
Sick.
But the funny thing about it is, over there, the government, the mayor was there. I actually, because of the COVID restrictions, the reason I got to Luxembourg in the first place, I got a letter from the mayor, and the mayor is supporting this whole event. He was there, like really cool mayor, really into techno, and it's like this. Yeah, the government funded it and everything. It's free for everyone to get in. They paid the Luxembourg council government paid my fee and paid for me to go over there and play techno.
That's mad.
Yeah, Dr. Motta was there. Obviously, the Love Parade, the guy that invented Love Parade. So yeah, it's like proper rave up. Amazing, yeah.
That's like when you go to Malta, like the Minister for Entertainment comes out to all the raves, and he's like fully in there, and you're just like, yeah, I'm the minister, but he's like someone's 35 or something, and he's like, yeah, I'm the Minister for Entertainment for the whole of Malta, and we're like, what? But it's funny as.
I think in Luxembourg, like techno is their main subculture.
Yeah.
So and it's similar to Germany. So it's kind of respected. I think there's never the backlash that we had in the UK against dance music. So it's kind of it's just respected a lot more and seen as an actual thing by people in government and stuff. Whereas in the UK, we're still kind of viewed as criminals, I suppose.
Yeah, especially over the last year, man, crying out loud. That was busy, mad. And so that Water Bear venue, I've seen that Water Bear venue, kind of on Facebook and events popping up there. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's wicked. It's part of Water Bear College, actually, which is, a music production college in Brighton. And yeah, so I think Billy, I don't know he's Scottish. I can't pronounce his full name, but Billy, I think he's the main man behind that Water Bear, the venue, a Brighton Music Conference. He's like a man who's doing a lot of stuff, and he's a really nice guy. So and he's doing amazing stuff, mate. Amazing stuff.
How's the last 18 months been for you as well?
Right, so I'm not going to lie, it's been tough, mate. It's been really, really tough, obviously a family man. I've got 2 young kids. We had to go through the first 3-month, lockdown with them. I was homeschooling.
How did you find that?
So yeah, I mean, they're great kids. They're amazing and they're really bright, but they're also troublesome, shall we say? It was really tough on their mental health, mate. To be honest. The first three months where they couldn't go to school, they couldn't see any of their friends, they couldn't, all we could do is go to the park once a day. They went feral, mate. It was really, really bad. It wasn't healthy for them. And for me, obviously, before the pandemic, I had, I was booked at, the Carl Cox Megastructure, Ultra Miami. I had like my diary was just full of amazing gigs, man. And obviously, they tumbled they tumbled one by one. And at first it's like, well, Ultra's cancelled, and then we didn't really know the lockdown was happening in the UK and Europe, and then I just saw like dominoes, all my gigs go all gone.
That must have been tough. Must have been tough mentally as well. Like, fuck, what am I gonna do?
It was hard, but I dedicated myself to making, because I'd already been live streaming. I think I made my name as a live act by live streaming anyway, so I just doubled down on that. And I think I got 3 million views on my streams during lockdown. So
where was you streaming?
Facebook. I still, because I'm
Just
live.
Facebook.
Yeah, because the thing is, right, because it's troublesome for DJs, and it's troublesome for me if I stream stuff that I've already released, like live material I've already released. But if it's brand new live material, nothing, they're not going to take it offline because it's not got any it's got no copyright claims or whatever. So for me, it's almost better that everyone else was streaming off Facebook, because it gave me, although the reach went down, it meant that there was less competition, and it meant that I was reaching a lot of people. Yeah, and so I just made loads and loads of music, and just live music, and just streamed it, and just built, maintain my following there, clips on Instagram of my live stuff, just constantly, putting that out. And actually, yeah, so it was hard, but I like to feel that I kind of made the most of it.
That's good, yeah, because you're on it with the content, which I love to watch as well, by the way. Yeah, it's really cool. That's cool. I couldn't consider. Yeah, Facebook for you must be, it's like a gold mine, because you obviously already got a following on there. But Facebook for DJs is just fucking a nightmare. It's just, we had so many streams that were just down, up, down. We're just like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah, I actually had my first thing muted. Actually, it was a stream that I did for you guys. The stream that I did for data transmission, and then we did it. I think it was in February or something. And I did the stream, and it's fine, all new live material. But since then, I edited stuff out and released like 5 of the tracks on Cubism, and then Facebook has since then, that must have been in the last month, muted those 5 tracks.
That sucks. There's a thing called Facebook Stars now, and you can actually get tips on Facebook, and there's a monetization for Facebook streams as well now.
Yeah, you can have. You can have adverts in the videos, but it's not something that I really want to do. Anything that gets in the way of people watching is annoying for me. And I was quite lucky during the pandemic because I had I fell into the kind of self-employed bracket where I was getting money from the government. Obviously, because I've got an accountant and it's based on profit, I wasn't getting everything that I should have got, because you claim expenses and stuff, and those expenses were still there. Some of them, but I was getting money from the government, so that was good. So my main focus was just to come out of the pandemic at the same level of profile that I'd gone in, because I was just beginning to benefit off my album, my first album off Awesome Soundwave, had all these great gigs, and what I didn't want to happen was, to disappear. Like, I think quite a few artists did actually just disappear during the pandemic.
I've definitely seen a few that have just not come out, or not. I've seen a few that's done that, and definitely not get as much as they were getting before, for sure. I'm sure. So just from our Awesome Soundwave, that's a Carl Cox owned label, is that?
Yeah, so it's a label by Carl Cox. He runs it with Christopher Coe, and it's it is a label dedicated to live artists, which was pretty lucky for me, having Carl already playing my live tracks. I released an album on Cubism, I think it was in 2016, called Machine Jams, and it was just like I'm doing like all my albums, all my stuff I'm releasing now. I jam like a live set out, and then I edit the tracks out of the live set. So I'm releasing tracks that are made live, basically. And Carl picked up that, and it's a closing season at his last Space closing season. He played half the album. He played like 6 tracks off it, and 2 of the tracks he went on to play nearly every set for a year after that. So then him and Christopher Coe started up this album for live artists, and I met up with Christopher. Accidentally bumped into him, didn't know who he was at all, in Shanghai, in IMS in Shanghai, I think in 2017. And he goes, "You're Saytek." Me and Carl Cox are starting a started an album, a label up, and Carl said he wants you on the label. I was like, what? Is this really happening? You know, it just kind of hit. It was like, you know, I was in Shanghai, sleep deprivation, jet lag, like meeting this guy in an elevator that, you know, was, you know, basically sound engineer for Carl Cox, and yeah, it is a surreal experience. And then obviously they made it really hard for me. They didn't go, yay, we're going to take the first tracks you send us. You know, I had to send them. I was sending them live jams for about a year after that.
Wow.
And and eventually they were like, yeah, we're going to take these ones, and that was my first album.
That's cool. So let's jump into that. Let's shuffle the questions around. Let's jump into that. So talk me through the live jams. Like, it's super interesting. Like, so you, like you say, you go live, you just play, or do you plan, I'm going to make tracks? Like, what's the process?
It's somewhere in between, because like, I like tunes, right? So you get some live acts that are really improvisational, but the sound is kind of quite experimental. You know, they're just making everything up as they go along. But I'm someone that I like a tune, right? I like it. When I hear a tune, I'm like, I love that tune. So I've met, like, basically, it's kind of similar to what a band would do. You know, you'll be able to recognise the tune, but every time you hear it live, it's going to sound a little bit different, and there's going to be sections which are longer and have improvised jamming in them and stuff like that. So basically, but I never arrange anything before, so everything is arranged live. I make everything up as like patterns on boxes, or, you know, loops over here or patterns over here, and, you know, then I bring them together live and jam them out. So that's how they're kind of created live. It's all arranged live, and like all the effects are done live. The, you know, special effects are done live. You know, everything's triggered live. Everything is kind of just made in the moment. So it's never going to sound the same twice, but you'll be able to kind of recognise tunes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you have to record that specially? Like, how does that kind of? Because obviously, I'm thinking from a normal track, you're going to have like stems, and you're going to have parts, and you're going to have. How does that work from a?
I record it directly to my Zoom recorder. So that goes in stereo in out the back of the DJ mixer, and then I'll take, and that's it basically. There's no kind of post production. What does happen is I take it to an engineer, Justin Drake, who's a great engineer, and he just you know, gives it a like we'll sit there and we'll take, you know, I'll take 12, 15 tracks in for a day's studio session. So let's say an hour or an hour and a half live set or something like that. And he'll just sit there and he'll just like cut out a DJ kind of friendly intro and outro and make it a bit more DJ friendly like that. What's in the middle isn't really exactly DJ friendly unless you're Carl Cox or a skilled DJ, you know. It's not something that fits. The tracks don't fit into the, you know, the 8, 16 kind of, they don't, because it's just kind of jamming. The beginning and the end do. And then, you know, because there's a little bit of MIDI drift, he'll maybe correct a little bit of the MIDI drift, because it, you know, it makes it like an old house record where it's kind of drifting in and out of time, but he'll correct that as well. But apart from that, it is as it is. What you're buying is individual tracks, is how I'm performing them, basically.
Wow. Someone said, Skeleton Keys asks, do you use Ableton, or is it just literally all hardware?
No, I use Ableton as well. So I use Ableton and hardware.
I've seen like, if you haven't seen his setup, go onto his Instagram and see your setup. But like, it's insane. There's a lot of product. There's a lot of kit, which must make traveling fun, I'm sure. But
mate, I'm a crazy man. Everyone thinks I'm going on holiday for like 3 weeks every time I'm getting in the cab to the airport, and they're like, "Oh, that's heavy, that bag." And I'm like, "Where are you going? You're going off to, you know, Barbados for 3 weeks?" I'm like, "No, that's full of music gear. There's like enough space for like a couple of t-shirts, a couple of pairs of boxer shorts, a wash bag, and everything else is kit, basically."
Someone in the chat, do you feel that brings more spontaneity to your tracks doing it all live?
Yeah, it does, definitely. You know, the reason that I kind of started doing things live is because I was getting really frustrated with arranging stuff in the studio. What I'd do is I was always seeking perfection, and I'd go over and over again. And what I often did is the tracks that I'm performing live, I try and recreate in the studio. And what would happen is I would kind of, I suppose, suck all the soul out of them, because I was trying to, you know, perfect them and make them sound, and everything sounded a bit too kind of clean and clinical and stuff. And now my live stuff, there's stuff where a hi-hat will come in halfway through the hi-hat, or the claps will come in, on the set, on the third beat. Do you know what I mean? Nothing is the way that you'd expect it to be in a produced dance track. And I think that's why the big DJs started loving my stuff. I got much more feedback when I was releasing this live stuff than I did when I was doing studio tracks. And Carl Cox, Maceo Plex, like all the big people were suddenly playing my live jams, tracks that I just come out the back of my DJ mixer at big festivals and stuff. And and there's a lot that's wrong about them. There's a lot that's not perfect about them. And I think for me, I had to get my head around that for a while, because when you're making stuff, you always want stuff perfect. And the thing is, when you're making a track, you can go back and fix it. But in a live book, this is just a snapshot of exactly what's happening at that time. And I could go and jam it out again, but there's always going to be something that's not perfect in it, because that's the nature of a kind of live performance.
I kind of love that though. It's like a bit like jazz, maybe.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not jazz; it's techno. But
yeah,
the philosophy is there, like the rules, the rules of music. Because I'm not in a band, I don't have to think, right, I'm going to have 4 bars of this, 4 bars of this, 4 bars of this. I can go, right, that crowd, when am I going to drop this kit? I'm sitting in front of a crowd, or standing. I'm not sitting down when I'm performing live. I'm standing in front of a crowd, watching them on a breakdown. And I'm like, should I drop this kick drum in now? And they're like expecting it. And I'm like, maybe I'll leave it a little bit later. And then I drop it in, and it kind of takes them by surprise. And they look at each other and they go, wah! Do you know what I mean? So it makes things a little bit more unpredictable on the dance floor as well, I think. And I think people kind of, they feed off that as well, because, a lot of dance music has become quite formulaic. And I think it's kind of, the opposite of that.
That's cool. I kind of thought it was like you'd do it live and then you'd maybe fix it up in the computer, or maybe you'd redo it, but I didn't realise it was just literally like that snapshot. That's mad. Oh yeah, so they're saying rather than it comes from your head, it comes from your guts, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly. Cool. And there's a lot of muscle memory there. Like once you've learnt a bit of kit and you know how to use, you're not it's almost like meditative. You're not thinking about what you're going to do next. You're just kind of doing it in the moment. You're there in the zone, and it's just kind of happening. And I think that's probably the same as someone playing a guitar, or someone who's a drummer, or it's just something that you learn, and it becomes muscle memory, and then it kind of it comes from your gut rather than too much analysing and processing. And I think I still do remixes in a traditional way, and I find the first bit of coming up with ideas really good fun, and I always get to a point where I hate it, where I hate doing it, to the end of a remix where I've done where I've got to a point where I'm 90% happy with it, but I just need to fix stuff and get it right. And that part of the process really does my head in. And I think that's the part of the process why lots and lots of producers have lots of unfinished tracks, because they get to that point where they begin to hate their music. They spend so much time trying to perfect it and the stuff they don't like. When I'm doing live stuff, that doesn't happen at all. There's none of that. I'm just making loads of patterns up, loops up, and then jamming it out. And what comes out is what comes out.
Have you had the same kit for a while? Have you added stuff new to it, or how often do you add new to it?
So there's a lot of people out there that buy new stuff all the time. I'm not one of them. I like to buy stuff and really get to know it. I find there's like a bit of a curve of stuff. There's like a learning curve where I'm learning it, I'm doing some good stuff on it, and then it gets to the point where I'm really, really making the best stuff on it, and that goes on for maybe a couple of years. And then I get to a point where I'm a little bit bored of that bit of kit, and then I'm thinking about buying something new, and then a few. So maybe I had the Electron Analog 4 and the Electron Analog Rhythm. I had them both for about 4 or 5 years, and during lockdown I bought MC 707 and a Peak, and I've had them for 18 months. I've got no intention of changing those ones yet. So when I get to a point where I don't think I've reached the peak, excuse the pun, the peak of what I can do with them yet. I think when I get to a point where that peak passes and I start getting a little bit like I feel like I've made everything I can with that gear and I've got the best out of it, then I'll start thinking about buying something else. I don't think buying endless bits of gear is healthy for anyone.
Yeah, I had Illis and Barrientos on Monday, and they were lovely. They said it was like like you were saying earlier, the band will literally have, you know, one set of drums and one guitar, and they'll just try and get the most out of that piece of kit and then maybe change it every now and again. But it's I guess it's the same for you, you know.
It is. It's about, you know, there's so many bits of kit that could do almost the same thing, and they all work in slightly different ways. But once you know, you have to think about how you want it to, you know, before you buy anything, you have to know that it's going to be the right bit of kit for you before you buy it. Because it's easy to, you know, but you know, the marketing out there is great, and there's so much competition at the moment that, you know, it was like plugins a few years ago. You know, I mean, I suppose plugins are the same now. But, you know, a few years ago, you had to, you know, have people with, you know, 10,000 plugins on their computer, and they didn't know how to use any of them, you know, and they're just like clogging up their computer. Now you're getting people filling up, and it's much more expensive buying hardware, you know, and most people are probably cracking those plugins anyway back in the day, you know. But you have people who are spending thousands on studio gear and never getting to know how to use it properly, and just have it, it's like expensive paperweights in their studio, or, you know, for some people, it's just, you know, they buy it for their press shots, and then they make everything on their Mac. You know? A studio full of gear that they can sit in when, you know, when there's a photographer there, but they're actually in real life they don't use any of it.
I guess it's the same as music, though. You get to know certain tracks over a period of time, and you really know them, and then you really know where their parts, their break, you know, the bits you can manipulate. And I guess it's the same as that. Like, so many people have hundreds of thousands of tracks, but they will only play 20, you know, in a set. And it's like,
yeah, I mean, I think that's something that, you know, Carl Cox does, right? When he doesn't, like a lot of DJs, and I've noticed this, when you release something, they'll you know, they'll play it a couple of times or once when it's on promo, and as soon as it's released, they don't want to know about it anymore. Whereas Carl, sometimes he'll release one of my tracks and he won't start playing it till 6 months after it's released, and then he'll play it for a year. You know, he just plays the tracks that he loves. And he doesn't care when they've been released, how old they are. You know, if he loves it, he'll play it. And if he really loves it, he'll play it for a year or two, or sometimes maybe even 10, you know. So I think it's about, you know, knowing, you know, I think it's people with passion, basically, a passion for something. They don't care about the, you know, staying up, buying all the latest kit, or, you know, playing all tracks only when they're on promo and stuff like that. They just care about doing what they love, the way they love to do it.
That's cool. Yeah, I love Carl Cox. He's like literally one of the top 5 people I'd go and watch every time if I could, you know. And he's been a supporter of you for a long period. That must mean a lot, and it must be nice first getting that, like the messages from him. Just talk us through that a little bit as well.
I mean, he really, you know, the thing is about me, when I've made music, I haven't ever really cared about fashion or, you know, what label I'm going to sign stuff to or any of that stuff. I've just made the music that I love, and I've done it the way that I love, which is kind of a little bit different to everyone else. And so I'm super lucky that Carl Cox kind of clicked with that. You know, it was never my intention to do that. But, you know, that's not to say that Carl wasn't a huge influence for me as well, you know. I used to, you know, walk around with his, you know, cassettes and discs on Discmans back in the day, mate. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I particularly loved his, you know, crunchy techno era, when he was playing that really kind of crunchy techno stuff, probably late 90s, early noughties. But, you know, I was into, you know, Fact and his, you know, that Essential Mix CD he did when I was growing up. So his sound has definitely had an influence on me. And he has just, I mean, the amount of support he's given me is ridiculous, mate. You know, the amount of tracks he's played, but the amount of times it is shared about me on social media, the amount of times he's written about how good I am. He's written about me in his autobiography. He's written about me in the, you know, in the Sun newspaper.
Wow.
You know, he's written about me in all these different places. Like, he has just 100% got behind me, and I think that just shows what a good guy he is. He likes my music. He plays my tracks, and I think it's just kind of, I suppose there is a luck element that, you know, the time that I've spent 15 years, maybe more, maybe nearer 20 years now, focusing on live performance. And no one really cared about it then. But I focused on it. And now Carl has suddenly, you know, started really getting into live performances, doing live sets himself and stuff. And because all my tracks have been made live, and he's heard of me before, and he like, I'm someone that he sees as, you know, doing what I do and someone that's dedicated to it. And so I think, and he likes, let's not forget, he really likes my music as well. So when you put those things together, he just got behind me and given me a really good push.
Are you enjoying this interview? If you are, consider subscribing to us on YouTube. And if you want to watch them live, come and join us on Twitch. The link's below, twitch.tv/Graham Farmer. We have live interviews, A&R sessions, demo listening sessions. We get labels into that are signing records. Come and join us on Twitch. It's good fun. Let's jump back into the interview, though. Let's go. Let's talk about your album. So this is the second live album, the second album on
Awesome Soundwave, yeah.
Yes, on Awesome Soundwave. This was made during the lockdown. Talk about that. So let's talk about an album, like from your point of view, because obviously normally with an album there would be a kind of process, and it'd be like, right, I'm going to make an album. I'm going to think about where I want it to go. I'm going to think about the kind of tracks I want to do. I'm going to think about the music I want to bring into it, or the influences I want to bring into it. How does that work for you from a live jam point of view?
Well, because when I'm making live tracks, even though they're going to sound different every time, but when I'm making, let's call them tracks for the purpose of it. Yeah. They end up as tracks anyway. I'm thinking about that anyway, because I'm thinking about stuff that I can put together in sets to tell a story. So it's almost like every time I'm making new live stuff, I'm kind of making an album anyway, because I want people to be able to hear it and listen to it, and it be a journey and stuff. So that's it really. It's a my process of making live stuff is, so I go into the studio. And I have all my live equipment there, and I'm not really someone that is ultra organised with the way that I work. I just go into one bit of kit and I start messing around with it. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's really good. I like that pattern. I'll leave it and I'll save it, and then I'll go into Ableton or Machina or something, put some rough beats together, then bounce them down as audio, then or program some synth lines and stuff like that, and then I suppose the next bit is doing what a kind of DJ would do and go, oh, that drum beat works for that bass line, and that works for that, and that works for that. I just do that until I roughly know that I've got enough stuff to make up a half an hour or an hour or a 2 hour live jam, and then I just jam it all out and record it. So that's the process. It's just about making little bits of music, little bits of motifs. That's why the album's called Motifs from the New World, because it's making lots of little patterns that work well together. Yeah, and then I just kind of jam them out and then record it. And, quite often it'll be a live stream or in a club. I mean, the live on tour series on Cubism was stuff that was all recorded in clubs on tour. So I wouldn't, it wasn't, so it was basically, I'd take my my Zoom recorder, and I'll just record, the line input in the clubs. And I've got stuff that was recorded at Awakenings, Sisyphus in Berlin, all this stuff. I just take them back to the studio and edit them out, and that's what we release. So the whole tracks are recorded live on tour. And like I said about that, that music I made for the data transmission jam I did. I just, I've still got 5 of those tracks that are edited out that I haven't released yet. But 5 of them went out on my, we called it live, not on tour, because obviously it was during the pandemic. So, but the same thing, it's just recorded, taken straight from that stream. I recorded the audio version, and we released that.
That's incredible. I didn't realise it was that. I didn't realise that it all happened like that. It's mental. Wicked. Should we play another? We played a couple of tracks off the new album already. Can we play another one?
Yeah, of course, man.
Let's play the next track, Peking Live. Do you want to tell us about this track? I guess it's a jam, and
yeah, it's a jam, and the reason that it's called Peking is because it's one of the first jams I did with the Novation Peak synth, and that acidy kind of bass line is coming from the Peak, so it is peaking. And obviously, there's other connotations to peaking as well from back in the 90s when you were peaking. But we won't go into that.
Nice. There he is. Nice. Okay, cool. Let's play this, and then let us know. There's a question in the chat as well. There, you can see. Well, you'll be able to see the questions now as well on the screen.
Yeah. Right. So, So I have on Ableton. I have compression and limiters on the master channel, and now I've got the V10 mixer from Pioneer, and that's got a compressor on every channel, so that's great for The peak, obviously those analog synthesizers are a bit all over the place in terms of levels, so it's good to have that. And I use it on the MC707, so I do spec because the only thing that I don't take on tour with me when I go live is the DJ mixer, because clubs can obviously supply that. So on my Tech Rider, I spec the V10, but quite often, when I played in Luxembourg, there was no V10 mixers in the whole of Luxembourg, apparently. So I had to have a DJM Nexus 2, but so it's not compressed. So it doesn't need compressing, but it's quite nice to have it.
Okay, let's play that. I hope that answers the question. Let's play this. Peaking Live. Well done, man. Let's give that. We'll give that a little. We've got some little sound effects. We've got the whole smash, and we can give it the little. We can give it the rainbow as well.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
Where did the vocals come from?
So they come from I've got a collection of like proper retro samples, like when we used to have sample CDs.
Right.
And I've got because I started producing back in the day, so I've got burnt them all to discs. I've got all these like retro sample CDs, which are really cool actually. Like I've got loads of drum and bass ones from 1996, and we were talking about that that Yeah Man 96 track, and that's got I sampled that MC on a sample CD from 1996 on it. So
amazing.
Yeah Man original style, so it's 90s vibes.
We'll play that in a bit. Let's talk about obviously from a band point of view, a band would make an album, they'd go on tour, and I guess play the tracks again live. Do you do this? Are you similar to that vibe when you're trying to promo the album? Like, how's that work for you?
So I've played a few of the tracks, stuff that I think will, because I'm quite I've got if I'm doing a 2-hour live show, I'll take 3 hours worth of music, live music, and so quite a lot of the shows I've been doing recently are kind of quite peak time stuff. So some of the the more housey stuff I haven't actually had a chance to play yet. I've been playing the more techno stuff off the album. So that Good Night from Chicago, I haven't played that yet. The Machine Music, haven't played that yet. I've played Peaking quite a lot. I've played the first track of the album Decay Automate. I've played the Light is Fire. So I've played probably about 4, maybe 5 tracks off the album in my recent live performances. But I really am hoping to get a chance to play them all over my upcoming tour dates, basically.
I guess so. You make them all live, and then obviously you kind of finish in the computer. Then do you have to go and relearn them? Because obviously then when you've made them, you've made them in the moment and from the gut, and kind of it's all just happened. Do you have to then play them back to yourself and relearn what you did? Because
not really, because it's going back to that kind of muscle memory thing.
Right.
It's the way that I jam. It's like before, when I first started doing live, I'd have to practice everything over and over again. And now I don't have to do that. I just make everything up as loops. I don't have to practice it at all. I can make it up as a loop and never play it, and then play it in the club that night, because I just have that muscle, that way of doing things that I'm so used to, that I'm just kind of jam. On the 707, I'm like, I've got the kick on the same channel. I've got, and I fade that in. I know where stuff is, and I'm just kind of jamming stuff out live, and it just kind of happens naturally now, I suppose.
And then, so Skeleton Keys asked, do you transition from track to track when playing live, like a DJ mix, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. Because I've got the MC707 with its own sequencer. I can drop a kick drum hi hat on that, and then I can take the bass out of what's coming on Ableton, filter it, use the low pass filter as well, so that filter everything out, and then drop something else back in from Ableton at a different time. I can drop a kick drum from the 707 whenever I want, and just go to any other track on Ableton, because everything's in session view, so I can just kind of jump to wherever I want, basically. That's
cool.
not to say that I don't keep, people have asked me about this, and like normally the first half an hour or 45 minutes of my set is kind of stuck to a structure of the latest stuff I've done. And that's because it takes me a little while to get into the flow. So I am doing like tracks in the same order, but after that point, it becomes a little bit more kind of fluid, and I can start reading the crowd more and stuff like that. Sometimes that's not always the case, because if I really do, if I'm like, right, this DJ before me's been playing really deep, then I want to start with something a bit deeper, or he's been playing really hard. Maybe I'm going to start hard and then bring it down a little bit later on, So it's not. I have got that flexibility whenever, I suppose like a DJ has, but obviously it's a little bit more kind of rigid, because it's quite difficult to jump from track to track and like that as a DJ would in a live set. So it's nice to have a little bit of structure thought about beforehand, and then deviate from it if you have to, if that makes sense.
Skeleton Keys asked, do you pay much attention to harmonic mixing key from track to track?
I think I do it naturally. Like before, I only really learned music theory a few years ago. And then I noticed after I'd learned music theory that I'd actually been writing tracks in key anyway. And that I've been kind of not even thinking about it, been moving around the circle of fifths. So I've been kind of doing it naturally anyway. So yeah, I suppose I do it. And I write a lot of stuff in kind of obviously minor keys. And I kind of been moving, I move around like the C minor, the F minor, the D minor. I move kind of around them quite a lot. G minor, I write a lot of stuff in G minor, and I kind of move around those kind of things, which they work kind of together. Some of them, so I kind of naturally do it, and then I started exploring like modes as well recently. I've written a few bits in the Phrygian mode, which I like. F Phrygian is great. Loads of black notes in it, so it's kind of it's nice.
Have you always play techno, or did you start in?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't even people always call me techno, but I don't think I am 100% techno. I'm house as well. House, and I play some breakbeat stuff as well. So I mean, I think because it's tough, people put it in the in the techno bracket. So no, I mean, I've always loved techno, and not all house music. I like the darker side of house music, I suppose. The deeper, darker kind of side of house music I've liked, as well as techno. And I've always liked stuff like electro, and as in the original electro set.
Yeah. I feel like there's a wave of artists, or a wave of like people like that essentially at the end of the 90s and early noughties, where it was essentially just dance music, and you liked dance music, and then kind of like covered a lot of genres, and before it got split up into genres,
I think tech house is something that is completely different now than it originally was. And I think if you actually were going to talk about my music in terms of it's got elements of techno and house in it. So I mean, officially, according to the original definition of tech house, it's tech house, but it's not at all according to today's definition of tech house. It's probably a lot tougher than the original tech house sound as well. So it's underground electronic music, I suppose.
I remember in the original notes we want to talk about the kind of the art of playing live. I'd love to just let you go for it and tell us about how you set it up and how you kind of how you play live.
Yeah, so I basically I'm a big fan of sequencers. I like hardware sequencers. So the way that I do it is I basically I have like a MIDI sync box which just syncs everything together, so everything's in time with each other, and I write lots of different things in different places and then bring them together and through a DJ mixer. So it's like It's like writing little patterns, and little musical ideas, and just putting them down in different machines that work in different ways, and then bringing them together in a jam. And that is, for me, is such a nice way of working, because I suppose it always means that you're moving a lot. If you ever get bored or you're ever frustrated, you can always move somewhere else. Whereas if you're doing that when you're writing, trying to finish tracks in a DAW, then you are basically never going to finish any tracks. But if you're doing that when you're making live stuff, you're compiling together the pieces for a live set. And then there's the not so fun bit of organising everything so you can perform it live, because that's the bit that I normally do just before a live jam, and that just involves naming stuff, going into patterns, naming stuff, moving stuff around in machines, naming every scene in Ableton, just the kind of organisational process, so that you know where everything is when you need it, basically. Otherwise you're on stage and you're like, oh, what am I going to do now? And you've got no idea. So yeah, there's that kind of organisational process at the end. Even that has become kind of therapeutic for me. It's something that I give myself, once I've come up with all these ideas, I give myself like 3 or 4 days to just go through stuff, name it. If I'm only doing like half an hour live set or whatever, it's going to be like half a day or half a day or whatever. But if it's like a 2-hour live set, then that's 3 or 4 days of just going through stuff, naming stuff, admin, and I hate admin. But even that, it's probably the only admin that I do now in my life. But yeah, it's something that it's kind of become therapeutic for me now. So yeah, I suppose the process is, it's like making a collage of lots of different sounds, and then like knowing your kit, so you know how to perform them. But the thing for me, and that's the thing that I missed so much through the pandemic, was actually performing this music to people. And that's the most important thing about this music, is to have a group of people dancing and responding to your music on the dance floor. And that's really where that's the best place to jam it out. I like doing that, jamming it out for the first time in people. And okay, well, if I'm doing a live stream, and maybe the music's got more nuances in it, that you wouldn't get in a live setting. But in a live setting, it's got that energy that you kind of may be missing out in a live stream, because you're feeding back off the crowd. And the way that I like to do it gives me that opportunity to feed off the crowd. Because like I said, I don't fit to 8 bars, 16 bars, 32 bars. I'm just like, right, I'm going to drop this hi-hat in now. I'm going to, go to a breakdown now. I'm going to drop the kick drum back in now. I'm going to do this, just feeding off this kind of crowd that's facing me.
That's really cool. Let's play another track. Sync Live is here. Great. We actually got another live artist in the chat. So
yay!
Let's play another track. So we'll play Yeah Man 96.
Yeah, man.
There you go. There's a snippet of Yeah Man 96. That's cool. Let's give that the one. With the rave horn.
He said the pad sounds like a really famous tune. I don't know what tune that is. So the pads actually come from the MC707. So
do you have any self-imposed rules for jams, like having a maximum number of sounds, etc.?
Well, the thing is, that's why I like hardware. Like I was talking about the role of the MC707 before. It's only got 8 channels. So you have to have that self-imposed rule on that bit of kit. So quite a lot of the tracks on the album actually come mainly from the 707. And then maybe I add a, like Isolation, for example, is all from the 707, apart from the one isolation sample that comes from Ableton. So, I think the beauty of hardware is that you do have those limitations, so it's imposed limitations. But also, that's on the opposite end, that's the beauty of Ableton as well. You don't have any limitations at all. So I think it's the nature of working with that hardware imposes limitations on you, and I enjoy that. But I don't think I really impose them on myself, if that makes sense.
Oh, lots of just comments of how, like, this is slap back delay on the snare is boss mode stuff. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's obvious. That snare is from the MC 707, and I've just got a filter that I'm just tweaking on the 707 live the whole way through the track, and it's going through, like you say, that slap delay.
Are the white noise drops and builds fills on Ableton looped, or do you use a Chaos pad?
Chaos pad. They're all coming from the Chaos pad. Yeah, so basically the Chaos pad is my swoosh machine for live. I also use it for some like cool like delays and reverbs and like a couple of synth sounds as well for like more kind of weird swooshes and stuff. But yeah, the white noise swoosh is all coming from the Chaos pad. Yeah.
I think that's where I learned about the Chaos pad, from watching you the first time I ever saw you play. Like, I think when you played in Milton Keynes that time, when you come up here that time, I think I learned.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the important question. What is your meal deal go-to choice?
I knew this was coming. Right, so I've been tipped off about this, shall we say? Yeah. So I mean, I've got to admit, a meal deal is the last resort. But if I do go, like, I think it's kind of quite boring, really. I have a chicken and bacon sandwich.
Yes, the chicken bacon.
And I normally have a packet of Walker's crisps, ready salted. I know that's not too spicy or interesting. And then I have a water. People may be like, why do you have a water? But I don't do fizzy drinks anymore. So I stick to the water. So probably not the most exciting meal deal, if there is such a thing as an exciting meal deal.
There you go, gang. Should we play another track? Should we play the next one? Flip the switch?
Yeah, man, that's it.
Tell us about this one quickly before we play it.
So yeah, this one is it's heavy kick drums, pads, and bleepy techno styles with a sample saying flip the switch that I've put through a delay basically. Someone asked when my next UK show was actually.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So next weekend, I'm playing in Maidstone actually for a Cubism party, which is my record label, and it's called Social Chill. It's quite a small kind of venue. So come and check it out.
Let's talk about the label quickly. Tell us about how's the releases been? Did you change anything for label wise over the pandemic?
No, I mean we released lots of stuff actually. But yeah, Cubism. Like Mark Gwinnett is a really good mate of mine, and it was originally his label. And Tony Thomas, do you remember Tony Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was his label back in I think 2007. They started up the label. And then, I just started releasing loads of my live stuff on Cubism and released a series of albums and EPs and stuff. And Mark was like, well, do you want to come on board and we'll run Cubism together? And that's what we've done. I mean, he does a lot more running of it than me, to be honest. But it's a great platform for me to release what I want whenever I want. And, Mark does most of the A&R and stuff. But, yeah, it's cool, and we do parties as well, so that's good.
That's good. One of the things that I saw in the chat, which was quite cool, is Libs. I'm definitely running my drum machine and synths through my mixer after this stream. See what train wreck of a live set I can play. Is it that simple? Like, or should he be considering anything before going live?
No, just do it. I mean, just go and do it and have fun. You'll be surprised, I think. It's liberating. Not having to think about pumping your gear into a DAW and all that kind of stuff. That just makes everything such a pain in the... Yeah, it's not, you have to go through it and drag it back in time and all that stuff. Whereas if you're just running it straight through a couple of synths, drum machines, you'll have fun, I think. Do it. Just make sure you record it. Because you're going to be gutted if you do something that's amazing and you don't record it.
Do you record everything? Like I was thinking, then if you like you're on the like you're saying on the road, do you literally record everything? Because obviously, if you make a track, then
recently I've recorded like 2 out of 4 shows, but I film everything. I've got like on my iPhone, I've got a tripod for my iPhone, and and I just like hit record because they're so good now. These phones that that you can record a 2-hour live performance on your phone and get really good video quality. Although saying that, the last 2 gigs that I had, the one at Waterbear was far too dark. As soon as I started playing, like the first 5 minutes, they had a few more lights on, but they just darked out the room so much. There's no footage there. And then I was hoping that the festival in Luxembourg would be great footage, but there's so much smoke in the booth, you couldn't see anything.
How long do you play live for? Is it? I'm guessing it's a tiring kind of.
It is tiring, but ideally, I mean, it's 2 hours is maximum, and 2 hours is my preference. Right. But, sometimes people will book me for an hour and a half. I get annoyed if I'm booked for an hour. Basically, it's not long enough. So 2 hours, I like 2 hours really. Anything more, and I start getting too tired, and I start losing the energy.
Do you have to be physically fit to do it? I guess.
I think you do. Yeah. I mean, I try to stay fit. I do loads of yoga and I do HIIT training and that kind of stuff. So I do try. I do enjoy bad food as well though.
Doesn't the bass distort the iPhone? They said.
No, not really. It's good actually. I mean, it's only for it's not for.
Social.
It's only for social media, so yeah. I mean, it's not too bad actually. It comes out pretty good. But what I can also do is because during the pandemic I've got 2 cameras, I've got stands for my iPad, I've got inputs on my computer, I've got the Zoom. So what I can do is if I go do a gig, if I really want to do it, I can record the audio separately and then sync the audio up to the video as well. During the pandemic, I had to kind of make my studio more into a studio where I've got cameras and all that kind of stuff, so I can build, like you say, build that content through the pandemic.
That must have been fun. I've definitely enjoyed building ours, that's for sure.
Yeah, you've definitely done the same, mate. Probably more advanced than mine, mate. But
have you ever had it where it's sort of you turn up and stuff doesn't work? What do you do with technical problems?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened a few times. I mean, a few times in Berlin, like the proper underground parties in Berlin, they've had to get umbrellas over my equipment because sweat's been dripping off the ceiling onto all my gear and stuff, which is mad, mate. And I've had people running in with umbrellas and like taping umbrellas above me, and it's been mad, mate. But that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that's quite fun.
Probably post-COVID, that's not what people want to be hearing. Like everyone's become a little bit more hygiene conscious, but back in the day, we didn't mind a bit of sweat dripping from the ceiling.
You're obviously taking all that equipment with you. Do you have to have special insurance and stuff for it as well?
Yeah, I've got it all insured. Luckily, touch wood, I've never had to use it, the insurance. But yeah, it costs about 12 quid a month, 13 quid a month.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Someone who's health and safety would go have a field day with that dripping.
That's the thing about underground parties. There's no health and safety.
So yeah, what have you got coming up? Are you out this weekend? So
this is the first weekend I've had off for ages, which is good because it's my son's 7th birthday party, so I can do that. Nice. And then, October's pretty crazy again, but loads of UK dates in October, actually, which is good. And then, cool. Just kind of planning November, looking at gigs November, December, booking stuff in now, really. You know, I've got stuff in Belgium and more international stuff.
But obviously, as a father, do you have to kind of plan your dates and so you're not out too far from the kids? And
not really, mate. It's work, so that kind of wraps around me. So like it was my son's birthday last weekend, so we moved his birthday party to this weekend basically because I was touring. So, but I don't think I'd ever want to be one of those artists that who tours all the time because I am a family man, so I always want that balance, you know.
Cool. Okay, let's play one more track and then we'll let you get out of here. Also, gang, we're up to 908 followers, so the next person gets to be the 909 follower, which I'm well happy with.
I haven't followed it yet, but I don't have a Switch account.
Go on, get one and be our 909 while we play the next track.
Okay.
Sign up. Go on.
I'll do that, cool. Mate. I will.
And you can be 909. Right, let's play Light is Fire. Let's go for it. Wicked. I think we're there. Wicked. No, Helter Skelter isn't on Milton Keynes anymore. The Sanctuary is now an IKEA. So no, it's not.
I used to go raving at the Sanctuary back in the day, Helter Skelter and all that.
Yep.
Business. Yep. Yeah, crazy days, mate.
Yeah, they were fun. Right, cool. Thank you so much for joining us, dude. That was fully enjoyable. Thanks for that album's great.
Thanks, man.
I learned so much. Thank you so much for joining me. That was wicked. I hope everyone enjoyed that in the chat.
Been my pleasure, mate.
What was your biggest takeaway from that video? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what you're getting out of these videos. I'll be reading all the comments and replying to them. If you've got any questions about the video or you've got any thoughts about the video, let me know in the comments below. And I'll be jumping in those comments afterwards. Let me know. I'd love to see you in the comments. Also, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It's free. And you can always unsubscribe anyway. Love to grow this channel and this community on YouTube. So please consider subscribing. It means you get the videos first and you get notified when the videos go live. If you want to watch these interviews live, come and join us on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Graham Farmer. The link is in the description. Come and join us live on Twitch. Subscribe over there and join us live in the chat and be part of the OGs in the crew. Finally, if you want to join our big networking server for producers, DJs, artists, come and join us on Discord. It's really cool. It's really fun hanging out in Discord. Again, the link's below. Join us in the Discord and you get all the access to all the A&R feedback sessions and all the forms to submit your tracks to labels first. They're always in there first. I'll be answering questions in there again as well. Join us in there. It's good fun. Thanks again for joining us on YouTube, and I will see you in the next video or live stream. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.